When you think about it, the entire universe, everything from the biggest galaxy down to the smallest particle, it runs on a single, unchangeable operating system, a set of rules that governs energy, heat, and even the direction of time itself. And these aren't just suggestions, they're absolute.
Yeah, and these rules are woven right into the fabric of reality. They were there at the Big Bang, they're the reason a car engine works, and believe it or not, they will decide the ultimate fate of the cosmos. They're silent, for sure, but they are absolutely in charge.
So what are they? That's what we're going to unpack right here. We're going to look at the 4 fundamental laws of thermodynamics and see how these simple, kind of elegant rules build the incredibly complex and beautiful universe that's all around us.
So, let's start at the beginning, with the laws that really set the groundwork. These first 2 are all about how the universe measures and accounts for everything, how it keeps track of itself and finds its balance. Okay, so the Zeroth Law. At first, this is going to sound almost, ridiculously obvious, right? If object A is the same temperature as object C, and object B is the same temperature as object C, then A and B have to be the same temperature. Simple. But behind that simple logic is something really profound. This rule is what makes temperature a consistent, reliable thing we can actually measure. I mean, this is the very reason a thermometer works. Without the Zeroth Law, you couldn't trust that the little line of mercury is actually telling you the temperature of the air or your body. It's a simple idea, but it's the bedrock for a huge chunk of modern science. And that idea of balance leads us to one of the most famous principles in all of physics. The first law is basically the universe's ultimate accounting rule. It says that no energy ever just disappears, and no new energy ever just pops into existence out of nowhere. It's a perfect, closed system. And you see this transformation happening everywhere all the time. The chemical energy in fuel becomes the kinetic energy that moves a car. The calories in the food you eat become the energy that lets you, think and move. Even stars are just these giant cosmic engines, converting mass into the light and heat that makes life on Earth possible. So, the total amount of energy in the entire universe has been the same since the very beginning. It's constant. It just keeps changing forms, moving from one thing to another in this never-ending cosmic dance.
All right, so if the first law is about the universe's accounting, the second law is all about its direction. And this might be the most mysterious and profound of all the laws, because it explains why things happen in one direction and why we can't just turn back the clock. This law gives us a really powerful concept called entropy, which honestly is just a fancy scientific word for disorder or randomness. And the rule is brutally simple. In any closed system, like our universe, things always get more disordered over time. Always.
And you see the consequences of this everywhere. Heat naturally flows from your hot coffee into the cooler air around it. An egg scrambles, but you never see it unscramble itself. But here's the crazy part. This constant march towards disorder is actually what drives everything. It's the engine of all change. The flow of energy from order to chaos is what lets stars shine and life exist. It's the reason anything happens at all, and it's what gives time its forward direction, its irreversible arrow. And this isn't some slow, occasional thing. It's happening constantly, everywhere. Every time a star burns, every breath you take, the total disorder of the universe just inches up a tiny little bit. It's a relentless, one-way street. And if you follow this law all the way to its ultimate cosmic conclusion, you end up in a pretty wild place. A concept called the heat death of the universe. A future where all the energy has spread out perfectly evenly, achieving maximum entropy. No more hot and cold spots to drive change, no work, no motion, no life. Just a vast, cold, silent equilibrium forever. So, after that law that defines the arrow of time, we get to a law that sets a hard limit on reality. A boundary line that simply cannot be crossed. And that boundary is a temperature, absolute zero. This is the coldest anything can possibly get. It's the point where all the classical motion of particles would just stop. It is the ultimate, perfect stillness. Now, the official third law says that as a system's temperature gets closer to absolute zero, its entropy, its disorder, approaches a minimum. But what that really means in practice is even more fascinating.
You see, scientists can get ridiculously close. We've created bizarre states of matter, like superfluids, at just billionths of a degree above absolute zero. But reaching that finish line, actually hitting 0 Kelvin, it's physically impossible. Because to get rid of that very last bit of heat, you'd have to create a state of perfect order, zero entropy, and the universe just won't allow it. It's a finish line you can run towards forever, but never, ever cross. Okay, so let's pull all of this together. These 4 laws, they aren't just separate rules. They all work together in concert to create a complete blueprint for how our physical reality operates.
And here's the blueprint, simplified. The Zeroth Law gives us a universe where things can reach balance, which lets us measure things like temperature. The first law is the cosmic accountant. You can't get something for nothing. The second law is that irreversible arrow of time, a constant reminder that things tend to fall apart. And finally, the third law gives us an absolute limit, that impossible goal of perfect cold.
And these laws are absolute. They apply everywhere, from the engine in your car to the chemical reactions happening in your brain. They don't change, and they can never, ever be broken. So I guess the big takeaway is this. From the moment a star is born to the moment we take our last breath, these 4 laws are silently writing the story. They aren't just some abstract physics homework. They are the fundamental operating system for existence itself, and they shape not just the cosmos, but every single moment of our lives.